Level 1, the street. You think you're careful. You sell only to people you know, you never talk on the phone, you keep it small, and you believe, the way everyone at this level believes, that being small keeps you invisible. It does the opposite. Here is the thing you don't understand about the bottom of the ladder, which is that the DEA is almost never interested in you. And that is exactly what makes you dangerous to yourself. Because a person nobody wants to arrest is a person who can be used. And the way they use you is that one of the people you trust is not a person anymore, he is a source. The confidential informant is the foundation of the entire American drug enforcement system. And there are tens of thousands of them, and they are not undercover agents. They are people exactly like you who got caught and were offered a choice: cooperate or go to prison. And almost everyone cooperates, because almost everyone faced with a decade in a cell discovers they can live with wearing a wire against a friend. Understand how completely this rewrites the world you think you live in. The people around you, the ones you sell to and buy from and trust, are not a fixed set of loyalties. They are a set of pressure points, and the DEA does not need to place a spy in your life. It only needs to wait for one of the people already in it to get arrested for something else, anything else, a traffic stop that turns up a small amount, an unrelated charge, a debt to the government of any kind, and then to offer that person the oldest deal there is. Give us someone and we'll help you. The informant is not chosen for being close to you. The informant becomes close to you after they flip, gently steered back into your orbit by handlers who now direct their moves, so that a relationship you experience as organic, a guy who's been around, a friend of a friend who's reliable, is in fact a managed operation. It's every meeting logged, it's every purchase funded by the government. So the man you sold to last week, the one you've known for years, the one you'd never suspect, got picked up on something unrelated a month ago and made a deal. And every word you've said to him since has gone into a file. By the time you meet an undercover agent, you've already been under investigation for a year. You just met the informant first, and you called him a friend. Level 2, the crew. You move up. You're not the one holding anymore. You have people for that, and you tell yourself the distance protects you, that the layers between you and the product are layers between you and the charge. The DEA loves layers. Layers are what they build cases out of. At this level, the technique is the controlled buy, and it is simple and it is devastating. The informant, wearing a recording device, makes a purchase, supervised, documented, the serial numbers of the money recorded in advance, the whole transaction captured, and then they do it again and again. Because one buy is an incident, and 5 buys is a pattern, and a pattern is a conspiracy, and conspiracy is the word that will define the rest of your life. They are not trying to catch you with anything. They are building a recording, a stack of documented transactions that establishes an ongoing enterprise, and every controlled buy adds a brick, and you never see it happening because it looks exactly like business, like a good week, like everything working. The better your operation runs, the faster they are building the case, because a smooth operation is just a well-documented one from their side of the wire. Marcus is the one who brings you the new buyer, the reliable one, the one who never haggles and always shows. You trust Marcus. Marcus has been with you since the beginning. Level 3, the map. Now you're mid-level, and you've gotten disciplined about what you say. You speak in code. You change phones. You never say anything direct, and you feel safe because you've controlled your words. You've misunderstood what they're collecting. At this level, the DEA doesn't need your words yet. It needs your pattern, and it gets it from the phones themselves, through a tool called a pen register and its companion, toll analysis, which do not record what you say at all. They record who you call, when, for how long, in what order, and that metadata, the shape of your communication rather than its content, is often more revealing than the words would be. Because a network has a signature. The phone that talks to 20 low-level phones and 1 high-level phone every night at the same hour is a distribution hub, whether or not anyone ever says a single incriminating word on it. And the analysts who do this work can look at months of call patterns and draw your entire organization as a chart, the hierarchy, the roles, who reports to whom, who the boss is, all of it, from nothing but the times and durations of calls. And they can do this legally with a far lower burden than a wiretap requires. Your discipline about what you said was real, and it protected nothing, because the map they were drawing was never made of words. It was made of the pattern your caution left behind. and caution has a pattern too. Level 4, the wiretap. This is the level that ends most organizations, and it has a name, Title III, after the section of federal law that governs it. And getting one is hard, deliberately hard, requiring a high legal showing and a judge's authorization and proof that other methods have been tried, and once they have it, it is the most powerful evidence-gathering tool in the entire system. Understand what a wiretap actually is on the government side, because it is not one agent with headphones, it is an operation. There is a room, staffed around the clock, where agents monitor your line in real time, and they are governed by rules even in the act of listening, a process called minimization that requires them to stop listening when a call is personal and not criminal, which means they are trained to sample your conversations, to dip in and out, and yet across weeks that sampling captures everything that matters. Because criminal conversations have a texture the monitors learn to recognize in the first 3 seconds. Every relevant call is logged, transcribed, indexed, and timestamped, building a record so complete that by the end they know your schedule, your habits, your relationships, the sound of your voice when you're lying to your own people. And here is the thing that destroys people at this level, which is that no human being can guard their words perfectly for that long. You can be disciplined for a day. You can be careful for a week. But a wiretap runs, and eventually there is a bad night, a rushed call, a moment of anger, a problem that has to be solved right now in plain language. And you say the thing, and the thing is recorded, and your own voice becomes the evidence that no defense attorney on earth can fully explain away. Because a jury will forgive a lot, but a jury believes a recording of you saying it. And the wiretap does something worse than gather evidence. It gathers names, because every person who calls you is now a lead, every voice a new thread, and a single productive wire doesn't just make a case against you. It spawns the next 10 investigations, so that your phone becomes the doorway through which they walk into the lives of everyone you ever called. The wiretap doesn't catch the drugs. It catches the conversations, and the conversations are worse, because product can be explained, and words in your own voice cannot. Somewhere in those months of recordings, there is a call between you and Marcus, and you will think about that call later. The ease of it, how much you said, how completely you trusted the line. Level 5, the money. You could stop selling tomorrow, and it would not save you, because by now, the investigation has moved to the part of your life you were least careful about, which is the money. And the money is louder than the product ever was. Product gets consumed and disappears. Money leaves a permanent record everywhere it goes. And the DEA works these cases hand in hand with financial investigators whose entire specialty is following it. The problem you never solved, the problem no one at your level solves, is that a successful operation generates cash faster than a person can plausibly explain, and every attempt to make that cash usable leaves a trace. The deposits, the purchases, the assets in other people's names, the lifestyle that outruns any legitimate income, all of it is a second case running parallel to the drug case, and it is in some ways the stronger one because financial evidence is documentary. It does not depend on an informant who might recant or a recording a lawyer might challenge. It is just numbers, and numbers do not lie and do not flip and do not get cold feet on the stand. They can prove you are a trafficker without ever proving a single specific sale, purely through the shape of your money. And that financial case is also what lets them take everything you own before you are ever convicted, through civil forfeiture, so that the resources you would need to fight are gone before the fight begins. The financial investigators who do this work are a different kind of hunter than the agents making buys. Quieter, patient, working from records rather than the street. And what they build is called a net worth analysis, the same technique the government has used since it put Al Capone in prison, which establishes what you had, tracks what you spent and acquired, and calls the unexplained difference what it is. They subpoena the banks, and the banks comply, because banks are required by law to watch for exactly the patterns your cash creates, to file reports on large deposits, and on the deliberate structuring of deposits to stay under the reporting line, so that the very carefulness with which you tried to hide the money became its own alarm, ringing quietly in a federal database every time you tried to be clever. They trace the car in your cousin's name, the house your mother suddenly owns, the business that takes in more cash than its customers could possibly generate, and each of these is a thread, and the threads weave into a portrait of a life funded by something that does not appear on any tax return, and that portrait is admissible, and it is damning, and unlike a witness, it will never change its story. This is the case that does not need you to have done anything they can see. It only needs the money to exist, and the money always exists, because the money is the entire point of the thing you were doing, and there was never a way to do it that did not leave the money behind. Level 6. The organization. Here is the legal reality that people at every level fail to understand until it is far too late. The concept that turns a collection of separate people into a single doomed entity, and it is called conspiracy. Under conspiracy law, you are not liable only for what you personally did. You are liable for everything done by the entire organization you are part of, for the whole scope of the agreement, whether or not you knew the specifics, whether or not you were there. The lowest member of the network is, in the eyes of the law, on the hook for the total quantity the whole operation moved, and so is everyone else, which means the government does not have to prove what you touched, only that you were knowingly part of the thing, and once they prove that, the entire weight of the organization's activity lands on you. This is the multiplier that turns a mid-level role into a life sentence, because your exposure is not your own conduct, it is the sum of everyone's, and the statutes designed for exactly this. The continuing criminal enterprise law, the kingpin statute, the racketeering provisions, exist to make sure that the structure which felt like protection, the layers, the distance, the being part of something bigger, becomes the exact mechanism of your destruction. Consider how strange and total this is, compared to how people imagine the law works. You picture a trial as an argument about what you personally did, and you prepared, in your head, defenses for your own actions, explanations, alibis, doubts. Conspiracy law makes all of that beside the point. The prosecutor does not have to walk a jury through your specific sales. He has to prove one thing, that you knowingly joined an agreement to distribute, and once that single fact is established, the door opens and the entire tonnage of the organization pours through it onto your sentence. Quantities you never saw, deals you weren't present for, decisions made by people you never met. All of it attributed to you because you agreed to be part of the whole. A man who drove a car twice can be sentenced on the weight the whole ring moved in 5 years. And the evidence for that agreement is everything the earlier levels gathered. The informant's word, the recorded buys, the pattern from the phones, your own voice on the wire saying we and us and ours, every casual plural a confession that you were part of something and the law only ever needed you to be part of something. You built distance from the product. The law erased it with a single word. Level 7, the takedown. Nothing about the end is improvised. By the time they move, the DEA has had the whole picture for a long time, months, often more than a year. The informants, the buys, the pattern, the wire, the money, all of it assembled and cross-referenced and ready. And they have not arrested anyone deliberately, because arresting one person warns the rest, and what they want is all of you at once. This is the hardest discipline in the whole investigation, the waiting, because the agents have known for months who you are and what you've done, and they do not touch you. They let you keep operating, they let you keep talking, because every additional week is more evidence and a wider net, and the restraint is strategic. The patience is a weapon. They map the whole organization onto a chart with photographs, and they assign a team to each name, and they choose a morning, and they brief hundreds of agents and officers across multiple jurisdictions, and then on that single chosen morning, it happens everywhere simultaneously. Doors coming down in a dozen places at the same hour. The entire organization taken off the board before anyone arrest can become a phone call warning the next person. You will not see it coming, because the calm before it feels like safety, feels like maybe the danger passed, feels like you were careful enough after all, and that calm is manufactured. It is the sound of a case being finished quietly, and the first you know of the whole thing is your own door at dawn, and the words you have heard 100 times in your life without ever believing they would be aimed at you. The coordination is the point. They are not catching people. They are collapsing a structure, all of it in 90 minutes, and the completeness of it is what makes the next level work. Because a structure collapsed all at once is a structure in which everyone lands in a cell at the same moment, facing the same math, and the math is what finishes you. Level 8, the ladder. Now everyone is arrested, and the final mechanism begins. the one the entire system is actually built around, which is cooperation, and it runs on a merciless and beautifully simple math. Every person taken down is offered the same deal that created the informant at level 1. Cooperate or serve the maximum, except now the stakes are years measured in double digits, and the way you reduce your sentence is by giving them someone above you. The tool that drives this is the mandatory minimum, a sentence the judge cannot go below no matter how sympathetic your case, except through one door, and that door is called substantial assistance, and it opens only when the prosecutor says you have helped them enough. So your sentence is no longer a matter of what you did. It is a matter of what you can trade, and the currency is other people, and the exchange rate favors whoever gets to the table first. So the structure that took a lifetime to build inverts in a week, everyone flipping upward, the street guys giving the crew giving the mid-levels giving the bosses, a great chain of testimony climbing toward whoever is at the top, and the cruel logic is that the first to cooperate gets the best deal. So there is a race, an actual race, to betray the people above you before they betray you first. And loyalty becomes not just worthless, but actively suicidal, because the loyal man is the one left holding the whole weight, while everyone who sold him out goes home early. The man who says nothing, the man who honors the code, does not get a code in return. He gets the maximum alone, while the people he protected testify against him for their own reductions. And this is not a flaw in the system. It is the system, engineered precisely so that the strongest bonds inside an organization become the fault lines it shatters along. Everyone above you is a target, and everyone below you is a witness, and you are always both. And you learn, in the discovery your lawyer shows you, exactly when it all started, whose cooperation opened the door, and it was Marcus. Of course it was Marcus, picked up 2 years ago on something small, offered the same choice everyone is offered, and he made the same decision almost everyone makes. And he was your friend, and he was theirs first, and had been the whole time you were building something you thought was yours. You take the plea, because the evidence is total, and trial only adds years, and you serve a sentence measured in a decade or more with no parole in the federal system. And when you finally come out, the money is gone, taken at level 5 before you ever saw a courtroom, and the organization is gone, and the friends are gone, some still inside and some who testified, and some you will never speak to again. And the only thing that remains, the only thing the whole apparatus was ever really building toward, is the story of what happens to the people who do this, told loudly enough, through you, that it reaches the next person standing where you stood at level 1, thinking that being small keeps them invisible.